At some point, I realized something uncomfortable. I hadn't stopped moving forward because my situation had defeated me. I'd stopped moving forward because without noticing it, acceptance had quietly turned into resignation. Not giving up, not collapsing, not drama, just a subtle shift in how I was seeing my life. And that matters because how you see your situation determines how you meet it. For a long time, I thought change only happens when circumstances move first, when the body improves, when the condition eases, when life gives permission. But here's what experience taught me. Perspective can move even when circumstances don't. And that's not positive thinking. That's not denial. That's not pretending things aren't challenging. It's something quieter and more powerful. You don't need to fight your reality to relate to it differently. Because the relationship that you have with your reality shapes everything that follows. It shapes what you attempt, it shapes what you rule out, it shapes the strategies that you consider. This is where most people get it wrong. A physical limitation on its own doesn't determine the size of your life. What determines the size of your life is the perspective you're locked into when you meet that limitation. When perspectives narrows, options narrow. When options narrow, strategy narrows. And when strategy narrows, life starts to feel smaller, even if nothing externally has changed. That's how resignation works. It doesn't shout, it settles. It convinces you the one way you're seeing things is simply the truth, rather than one perspective among many. And that's where, and if that's where you are right now, hear this clearly. Nothing about you needs to be fixed for something to shift. You don't need a new personality. You don't need to override pain or difficulty. You don't need to become someone else. What you need is access to more than what you need is access to more than one way of seeing what you're living with. Because when perspective shifts, even slightly, momentum returns. Sometimes, what I should have said was when perspective shifts, movement returns. Sometimes that movement shows up in decisions. Sometimes it shows up in boundaries. Sometimes in courage. And sometimes simply no longer shrinking your future to fit the lens. And from there, strategy changes. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're no longer operating from a perspective that keeps you stuck. So if your life feels tighter than it should, if acceptance has quietly turned into resignation, don't assume your limitation is one. Ask a better question. What perspective am I living from? And does it still serve me? Explore alternative perspectives with curiosity, not pressure. And share your thoughts in the comments. break your limits.